Welcome back to Sips for Change. As always, we're here to bring you exciting conversations about making events more planet and people conscious.
Also, welcome back to the continuation of our Sustainable Consumerism series. Last time, we talked about a few of the globally recognized certifications like Fairtrade, B Corp, and 1% for the planet. This time, we have a few more to share with everyone before we segue over to regional certifications in the next episode. So, Tammy, what do you say if we jump right into it?
Sure thing. We'll start with the Global Organic Textile Standard, or GOTS. It's the golden standard for organic textiles.
GOTS was founded in 2002 by four organizations: the Organic Trade Association from the US, the Soil Association from the UK, the International Association Natural Textile Industry from Germany, and the Japan Organic Cotton Association.
In 2008, these founding organizations formed a global standard nonprofit limited liability company under German law. It was charged with executing global organic textile standard program and conducting all activities in connection with the implementation of GOTS and its quality assurance as well as the related labeling system.
These groups had their own organic textile standards, but they saw the need for one unified, globally recognized one to cut through the confusion in the market. They appointed several representatives who operate in a global network to promote GOTS in their respective regions and around the world. You could say they're like the Avengers of sustainable textiles coming together.
I love that analogy because I'm such a Marvel fan. Now that we know a little bit more about how they're structured, let's talk a little bit about what it is that they do. So, GOTS was created to regulate the entire textile supply chain for organic fibers like cotton, wool, or linen, covering everything from harvesting raw materials to manufacturing to trading and labeling.
They set strict environmental, social, and human rights criteria that go beyond just organic farming. From a social standpoint, they enforced international labor standards, ILS, meaning no child or forced labor, fair wages, safe conditions, and freedom of association. From an environmental standpoint, they focus on biodiversity, wastewater treatment, and banning hazardous substances.
For example, products need at least 70% certified organic fibers for the made with organic label, or 95% for the organic full organic status, with no GMOs, synthetic pesticides, or toxic chemicals like formaldehyde are allowed. During their on-site inspection, a facility even will be required to show evidence that organic and conventional fibers were never commingled to avoid contamination. They have a different inspection protocol for each of the steps of the material processing, from weaving to trading.
It's a very in depth process. They don't believe in self policing, they utilize independent third party certifications for the enforcement practices. They have a list of approved organizations on their website, like Control Union or EcoCert, that do annual on site audits, which include reviewing bookkeeping for input output reconciliation and traceability, inspecting facilities for chemical use and wastewater systems, confidential worker interviews for social compliance, and even residue testing if there's suspicion of contamination.
They issue scope certificates for suppliers and transaction certificates for the goods, ensuring every step from the spinner to seller is certified. Surveillance audits keep things ongoing, and non-compliance means no label at all. It's gapless verification to end greenwashing.
That's great. There's definitely a lot of pros for referencing the GOTS. It helps build massive consumer trust with its end to end assurance, organic origins, eco friendly processing, and ethical labor all verified. It protects ecosystems by cutting pesticides and pollution, supports fair wages and safe jobs based on United Nations and International Labor Organizations principles and makes it easier for brands to export with one global label accepted everywhere. Over 4 million workers in certified facilities benefit, and it drives market demand for sustainable textiles.
However, there is also some gray areas that we can say are pitfalls. For instance, the certification is pricey and bureaucratic. The application fees, the audits, the compliance can be a very big barrier for small producers, especially in developing countries. There's also fraud risk, like India, where it's been reported that fake certificates have led up to the 80% of organic cotton being questionable coming out of India. Though GOTS is cracking down for with better testing, but it's still not perfect on chemicals. Some of it is still allowed if it's considered low impact, and it focuses more on organics than broader issues like carbon sequestration.
All very fair points, Tammy. However, as we discussed in our previous episodes, nothing is flawless. So, why is it still worth chasing that label? Because even with the cost and risk, GOTS is a game changer because it's the toughest, most comprehensive standard out there, endorsed by FOAM and USDA. It forces real accountability across the chain, way beyond what laws require.
Exactly. And for consumers, that logo means you're buying a product that is committed to lower environmental impact, healthier soils, less wastewater, and ideally supporting workers who aren't exploited. Brands get a competitive edge in a market where 66% of the shoppers pay more for certified stuff, and it pushes the whole industry forward towards better practices. Sure, fraud happens, but GOTS audits and constant updates make it more reliable than just any vague sustainability claim.
Absolutely. So for shoppers, GOTS is helpful to recognize, your organic tea or bedding is truly eco-friendly and ethically made. But heads up, always check the brand's transparency and that certification number on under the logo to spot fakes. GOTS isn't perfect, but it's pushing the needle toward a fairer, greener fashion world.
Next up, let's chat about the Rainforest Alliance. Martine, give us some insight on what this one's all about.
Would love to. It's all about protecting nature and people. It was founded in 1987 by a 24-year-old environmental activist named Daniel Katz and a small group of idealistic New Yorkers. It started as a tiny nonprofit with zero budget and a huge determination to save tropical rainforest. Katz, fresh out of college, got inspired by the destruction he learned about while traveling in China, so he rallied for others to create a way for consumers to support eco-friendly forest products and crops.
And from there, the grassroots spark, it grew into a global force. By 1989, they launched the world's first global forestry certification. And today, they operate in over 70 countries, focusing on turning conservation into a movement.
That is so inspiring. Now, 35 years later, they're globally recognized for regulating sustainable agriculture and forestry supply chains for crops like coffee, tea, cocoa, bananas, and more, covering over 100 products.
That's impressive indeed. Their core focus in the 2020 Sustainable Agriculture Standard, which balances environmental, social, and economic pillars, conserving ecosystems, protecting biodiversity and waterways, reducing agrochemicals, ensuring fair livelihoods, and safeguarding worker rights and community well-being. Processes include a gradual improvement system with farms starting by meeting 100% of the critical criteria and then 50% of the others, ramping up annually.
They also have a regenerative agriculture standard for a deeper focus on soil health and carbon focus, plus tools such as risk maps for deforestation detection and training programs for farmers on climate adaptation. It's all pretty intense stuff. Tammy, you want to tell them how it's all enforced and verified?
Sure. Similarly to GOTS, they rely on independent third-party certification bodies with accreditations under ISO 17065 and 17021 standards to conduct their audits.
So, farms apply, undergo on site audits with document checks, worker interviews, and field inspections for compliance, like verifying no deforestation or hazardous pesticides. Non compliance triggers corrective actions with follow ups. High risk spots get more scrutiny, like shadow audits where Rainforest Alliance staff tag along.
Verification includes annual and risk-based audits, supply chain tracing, and public grievances procedures for complaints. Data collection is streamlined to 45 key indicators for accuracy, and everything feeds into this continuous improvement cycle. Certification lasts up to 3 years for top performers, but it's all about credible, verified evidence.
That's very impressive. But now, for the pros and cons, what are the wins and the watchouts for Rainforest Alliance?
There are definitely some major benefits. For one, it boosts farm productivity and crop quality while helping farmers to adapt to climate change through training. Nearly 8 million farmers and workers in 60 plus countries benefit from better livelihoods, safer conditions, and access to premium markets. Companies see improved reputations, profitability, and cost savings. Plus, it fights deforestation, including how agriculture drives 80% of deforestation by promoting biodiversity and resilient landscapes. Consumers get assurance that their coffee or chocolate supports thriving ecosystems and communities with the Green Frog seal on products in 170 countries.
That is all great, but despite all of that, critics say their standards are weaker than fair trade since there is no guaranteed minimum prices, just national wages that often fall short, leading to persistent poverty. There's also been greenwashing risk with report of child labor and labor abuse on certified farms. There was one incident in 2021 where the law firm Left Day announced that women working on southern Malawi tea plantations were suing their employer over allegations of systemic sexual harassment.
And again, similar to other labels we talked about in the past episode, most companies offering Rainforest Alliance products are major corporations that can afford the process, which also means that they may perform poorly on ethics elsewhere in their business because the certification does not affect the overall business operations of the company.
Oof, those criticisms definitely hit hard, Tammy.
Yeah.
But even with the gaps, the Rainforest Alliance label does indicate some commitment to workers' rights. So it's likely better to buy bananas or chocolate with the label than those that have no ethical credentials.
Sure, fraud slips through, and the grievance system and risk-based verifications are tightening up, making it more reliable than no label at all. Like all processes, there are those who take it seriously and those who do the bare minimum. So we want to make sure we equipped ourselves to do the research and also demand better supply chains. It's better to have this imperfect ally driving progress than nothing at all.
Agreed. Consumers. The frog logo means you're supporting farmers and forest. It's impacted millions by tackling that 80% deforestation head on. Last resort, always shop small and local if you don't trust the labels on these multinational corporations.
Totally. That's always the best alternative wherever possible, anyway.
Now, last but not least, let's chat about Cradle to Cradle or C2C. It was created in 2002, dreamed out by American architect William McDonough and German chemist Michael Braungart. These two visionaries wanted to flip the script on wasteful manufacturing. Their book, Cradle to Cradle Remaking the Way We Make Things, laid it all out. Design products so they're fully reusable or biodegradable, mimicking nature's cycles. By 2005, they launched the Cradle to Cradle Products Innovation Institute in Charlottesville, Virginia, a nonprofit to manage the certification. It was a radical idea. Instead of less bad production, aim for all good, where products nourish the planet rather than harm it.
I love that mindset. C2C regulates products across various industries, from textiles to furniture to even packaging. The Cradle to Cradle certified is a type 1 environmental label that aligns with principles that and procedures defined in ISO 14020 and 14024. Its product standard assesses five categories: material health, um, material reutilization, renewable energy, water stewardship, and social fairness.
Of those categories, they assess to ensure materials must be safe for humans and the environment, free of toxic chemicals like PVC or heavy metals. Products are designed for circularity, either biodegradable for biological cycles or recyclable for technical ones. The standard has five recognition levels: bronze to platinum, with version 4.1 pushing for the most ambitious actionable global standard to date.
C2C Institute have even developed separate certifications strictly for circularity and another for material health. These can be obtained as part of the broader Cradle to Cradle certified process or in addition to provide more depth into these products.
Similar to the other certifications, C2C also relies on independent third party assessors, accredited by the Institute to conduct their audits. Companies must complete an application before they're able to work with an assessment organization to submit their report that details material inventories and supply chain data, which are scored against the standard.
The assessments include site visits, chemical testing, and supplier interviews to verify claims, ensuring such as water discharge meets their strict purity levels. Certification is valid for 3 years and reassessment um, to maintain or upgrade with levels.
Now, let's talk positives, Tammy. C2C drives innovation. Over 500 companies are working to create over 70,000 products that are safer for the planet. It's global and recognized on five continents and empowers consumers to choose items that don't just reduce harm but actively benefit ecosystems. The material health focus cuts toxics, protecting workers and shoppers, and the social fairness criteria align with UN principles for ethical labor.
But as we all know, it's never all sunshines and rainbows. So, what are the negatives? The certification is expensive and tedious, as are all of the previous certifications we mentioned, which bars access to smaller businesses. Additionally, the certification is really difficult to obtain. There's a blog article that we linked below where the author quoted that the only way to succeed is to go all in and make it a part of your mindset and keep the cradle to cradle design vision in your mind when you develop your ideas, search for new suppliers, choose raw materials, manufacture and product, figure out how to handle production waste, and plan for product maintenance and end of life scenarios.
And this kind of touches upon the biggest challenge of all, right? The feasibility of the cradle to cradle approach is heavily reliant on the appropriate materials being available in the supply chain, as well as having the available processes or tools to upcycle the discarded products or byproducts of production, which could in turn be costly.
I think the perfect example of this was when Lego introduced their Bottles to Bricks initiative, where they aimed to upcycle plastic bottles to produce their Lego bricks. During the process, they found that it was too costly and would create even more emissions to do so because it required additional materials to keep the quality of the bricks the same. Therefore, they pulled the plug on this altogether.
Fair points, Demi. But in comparison to the other certifications we mentioned, Cradle to Cradle is probably the most ambitious and has less room for greenwashing and fraud. That logo tells you that the product is designed with intention, that it's safe, circular, and ethical.
It's true. Despite the challenge, it's still pushing some industries towards a more sustainable future. It's not perfect, but C2C's rigorous audits, backed by ISO standards, cut through greenwashing quickly. We look at it as weeding out the companies who aren't taking it seriously.
Exactly. And for our consumers, whether you're hiring a vendor for an event or sourcing giveaways or just shopping for yourselves, all of these small efforts in the course of your lifetime will add up to a much larger impact.
Absolutely. So keep an eye out on for those labels the next time you're in the store browsing a new vendor's website. And for those based in North America, the next episode will be for you as we dive into some of the regionally recognized certifications in this part of the world.
And if you're based in other regions of the world, stay tuned as our future episodes make their way around the planet. Until then, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell.
Keep making conscious choices one sip at a time. Bye.
Bye.